Hello all you beautiful people. Are you totally lost on how to design characters? Do you have some good ideas, but maybe they could be better? Sajiri here, and I love creating characters. And I'm pretty excited today to share some of my strategies with you. Before you even start drawing your character design, do you know the most important things to keep in mind when designing characters? There's a lot of things about a character and where and how they live that will affect how they actually look. The setting, weather, time period, and economic status of a character are all going to have a big effect on how they look. If you make a character for a medieval setting, you're not going to see them walking around in jeans and a crop top. A wealthy character may dress quite differently to a character who lives on the streets. And a character who lives on a snowy mountaintop is going to dress very differently to someone who lives in a desert. Then there's the role and the personality of a character. If you have a character who fights a lot, they will likely prefer to wear practical and comfortable clothing. A politician will likely be well dressed. Characters with a bright and sunny disposition are more likely to wear colourful clothing. However, on the flip side, you could also use this as a chance for storytelling by subverting what you would expect. A female knight who spends all of her time in full plate armour may prefer to dress cute or fanciful when she's not doing whatever knights are expected to be doing in your setting. At this stage of your character design, you most likely don't have the full personality or all the details of your character worked out, but it would be good to have at least a general idea of what your character will be like to help you work out exactly how they should look. So once you have a bit of an idea on where your character lives and what they act like, it's time to think about what themes and visual references you might need. So this would be a good time for me to talk about the character I'm designing in the video here. Actually, this one's a redesign for a character I had originally designed about 2 or 3 years ago. This is Luna, and she is one of the characters from my comic that I am working on called Dawnkeeper. Because this was a character I'd already made in the past, I already had a good idea of what kind of look I was going for. So when I say themes, to use Luna as an example, she's a mage, so I wanted her to have some kind of flowy outfits. And she's from the Duskwater faction, which in my setting means she would have a lot of motifs that match the night, such as stars and moons. She's the youngest of the cast, so I wanted her to be a bit more cute and innocent looking. Dawnkeeper is essentially a magical girl comic, and when designing the magical girls, I gathered a lot of photos of Lolita clothing to use as inspiration. So for making your characters, it's a good idea to get a lot of reference images of different designs that match your setting, whether it be modern, or armor, or cyberpunk. And another thing I like to do is I like to make a list of words that I would associate to the character. And then I look up things associated with it. Even if those words don't make up the whole design, it can be incorporated into motifs. Luna's a pretty easy one here. I mean, Luna, moons, stars, you get the idea. It's also important to think about how they match or don't match with other characters of the story. Using Luna for an example, like I said, she's part of the Duskwater faction, so she wears a lot of dark colours like the other Duskwaters. She also has a darker skin tone and a pale hair colour like the other Duskwaters. Alright, so now that we've talked about things that you need to think about before drawing, let's talk about actually drawing the character now. So I'm going to tell you about what I like to call my doll method and how it helps me to do this easier. It's just a really simple concept. I often have people say to me, wow, why didn't I think of that? As you've seen me doing in this video, you just create a base figure and start drawing designs on it. You can make this base figure as simple or as detailed as you like. You can reuse it for different characters. But when I'm designing a new character, I like to just draw a basic body that is approximately how I think the character will look and just start sketching in random outfits. I'll usually do a neater and more detailed base when I want to make actual character sheets and not just concept designs. I like to block in some basic shapes to make up a basic silhouette for a costume, using a lot of my gathered references for ideas. I'll try to do several different designs, and sometimes I'll just copy and paste and make small changes on specific ones, or reuse parts into another design if I really like something. Usually I'll draw the face separate and I'll make a lot of different variations and try out different hairstyles. But since Luna is a redesign, I already had a fairly good idea of how she would look. After I've done 4 or 5 minimum designs, I'll pick out my favorite one and redraw it. Or if I'm still not happy, I'll pick my favorite aspects of the individual designs and I'll create another from those. So now that you've got your sweet character drawn, now what? Do you suck at colors like I used to? There's a really simple formula I like to stick to that makes it a lot easier for me. And hopefully for you too. Personally, I find that picking colors is one of my favorite parts, because the colors you choose can vastly change how your character is presented. So I like to pick 1 or 2 main colors and then a contrast color. So for Luna, in her original design, her colors were black and blue. I decided to stick with that theme, but it seemed too dull and heavy to me. So I played around with the colors a bit and I added some white in, and then bam, we're done. 3 colors. 3 colors is all it took. Speaking of the contrasting colors, I especially love doing this when it comes to skin, hair, and eyes. As an example, if you made a character with a darker skin and hair tone, you could give them bright blue eyes. Or a character with pale skin and blonde hair, but with dark brown eyes would look really intense. If you're a digital artist, it makes it super easy because you can shift the hue, saturation, and luminosity to try different combinations. If you're drawing traditionally, something I used to like to do was to get some tracing paper, and then I would trace the design and transfer it over so that I had multiple copies of the design to try out different color combinations. So you have your design, you have your colors, but something's missing. Let's add some finishing touches. For Luna, I tried out a few different things, but ultimately I just added some ribbons and a few accessories. It's really easy to go overboard in this part, so you need to remember what the purpose of this character is and what you're planning to do with it, which, now that I think of it, is something I probably should have said earlier. And this is definitely something I used to have a lot of issues with, and admittedly I still do sometimes. If this is a character for animation or comics, something you plan to draw over and over again, you don't want to go too hard on the accessories and the tiny details, and you don't want to let the details detract from or overwhelm the design. Sometimes less is more. And now for a little bonus bit. What about their equipment? Since I was making a cute mage, I had to make her a cute mage's staff. Obviously not every character is going to have a weapon, but they're likely to have some kind of belongings or accessories you can design. So just like the outfits, I start off with drawing some really rough shapes for an idea of the silhouette. I keep the motifs in mind, which is the star and moon shapes for Luna. Another little tip for character designs or accessories and weapons is that you can create some pre-made patterns and designs for intricate things you think you will use over and over. I had this moon and stars pattern that is a recurring theme among the Duskwater designs, and I thought it would be a good idea to sort of incorporate it into one of Luna's staff designs. But you can also use it in their outfit designs, maybe if you have some intricate looking jewelry or tattoos or the like. It's just a good little way to save time. Anyway, at the time of this video, I only did the 2 staff designs. I have some ideas on how to improve them and maybe make some more, but that's a future project I haven't got to yet. Anyway, that is my personal process for how I go about character design. Now that you've made your characters, if you'd like some ideas on how to go about building the world they live in, you can check out my ideas for world design next.